Performance marketing simply would be the kind of sub-function that would interact with your sales teams and add, value to them. It might be through leads, it might be through other programs around customers in particular.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Vision Board. Vision Board is an endeavor to bring startups, SMBs, business experts, and mentors on one platform with an objective of business growth knowledge sharing. Today we have Mr. Suryadeep Verma, the Chief Marketing Officer of Comviva Technologies. Welcome, Suryadeep. It's a pleasure hosting you today.
Thanks, Saurabh, and thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So I'll address you as Surya. Hope that's fine with you.
Absolutely.
And why don't we start this, Surya, with understanding more about your journey so far, and maybe our audience would also want to know more about you as a person.
Yeah. So, I'm a mechanical engineer and an MBA in terms of my education background. Uh, I I have been in tech industry for over close to about 20 years now, and a lot of my experience has been around marketing in particular. I started my career with a public sector company. This was way back in '98, and then my journey in technology started with IBM, which I kind of joined from campus when I passed out from FMS in 2004. Started off with sales, did business development, and have been into marketing for the last close to about 15 years or so. Uh, I have had the chance of really looking at the kind of transformation that the marketing function has really gone through over the last decade or so. And it has been a fairly kind of rich experience in terms of what I've really learned and grown as a professional.
And talking about 1998 and then the whole decade after that, when the mobile technologies came to forefront, and I remember we used to talk about real-time marketing in the late, I think 2000 is when this term really came in vogue.
Mhm.
And then, after that, Google coined the term micro moments in 2016-17, so almost half a decade back. But today also we are, hearing this term back again, right? It's called moment marketing, or someone calls it real-time marketing. It is real-time decisioning for someone, right? The idea for Google was that it's not just one-off real-time marketing like the Oreos and the Amuls would do back in the olden days, but it's all about the customer journey. So the customer or the shopper, when they transcend from an awareness stage to more of a doing stage, that I want to buy now, how do you contextualize your communication by addressing those micro moments? How do you feel today when the technology is so advanced and data analytics is also now one of the ammunitions with the marketers today? How do you see this moment marketing or real-time marketing, as we call it?
So I think it's a very good question to begin with. See, what has really happened is that with this whole advent of analytics and the capability around data science that has come in, from a marketing standpoint, this whole kind of paradigm of engagement has gone through a major shift. When I kind of started my career, a lot of our focus was largely around physical events and content that can be thrown to the customer. But a lot of that paradigm is now kind of changing, as you said, in terms of engaging them through the journey. Real-time marketing in particular is your ability to respond to a customer action in real time, which really means that you engage the customer right up there when he's doing an action. There is a slight nuance between real-time marketing and moments marketing. A lot of people actually speak that in the same breath. But moments marketing is little different. Moments marketing is more aligned to this whole wave of social media and the Instagram age that we live in, where a lot of these brands are trying to plug into and leverage these moments and make them viral. Real-time marketing might happen otherwise as well. Real-time marketing really means that when a customer is looking for something on your website, or he is going through a certain specific micro moment, you react to that and maybe trigger a campaign. A moment marketing might be leveraging that specific moment. You can probably leverage a incident which might not be specifically related to your organization, but say a celebrity incident, and you will try to kind of get plugged into that conversation. So I think that's the kind of a difference to kind of begin with. What really has happened on the moment marketing piece is little more interesting. With this whole kind of evolution of social marketing, brands are now trying to engage their audience rather than just pushing their content across to them. And in that journey, they are now trying to look at opportunities where they make their brand visible and get plugged into those current moments. And I think that's the new wave that we are really seeing, where you will tap in some really kind of interesting moments and try to position your brand in front of your larger audience.
Absolutely. The moment marketing addresses a specific moment which may not be in the journey of a consumer, but real-time marketing is more connected with the journey of the customer.
That's right.
Moments are more connected with the journey of the customer. Right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. See, it's your ability to understand your prospects, your visitors, your customers, and react with something which is very specific from your organization standpoint. A moment marketing might be a completely marketing and a digital activity where you try to plug into something which is already getting viral or getting kind of triggered outside. So I think that's the kind of slight nuance there.
Absolutely. And that brings us to an interesting observation about content, because ultimately at the back of all this is the content, and content can be in different formats, etc. What are the gaps now that you see in the content based marketing? Right? So today's marketing depends a lot on content, and whether it's moment marketing or real-time marketing or journey-based marketing, content is the soul of marketing today. Do you see any gaps in this entire spectrum of marketing?
So I won't say gaps, but again, on the content side, what's really happening is organizations are trying to democratize the whole content thing. When I say democratize, they are trying to drive this whole concept of user-generated content, where, if you look probably a few years back, marketing was the sole custodian of content programs. It still is the sole custodian of most of the programs, but what is now happening is they are trying to activate the larger set of audience around themselves. It might be employees, it might be your customers. So I think that piece is getting more and more activated. In terms of challenges, I think having quality content, having contextual content has always been a kind of a challenge. With particularly in the last 2 years with COVID coming in, most of the organizations have moved from digital first to digital only now, and that has really created a whole bunch of social and digital focus, where from a consumption standpoint, your audience is really getting fatigued with all the content that is really being thrown at them. So I think the distinction there is, how do you create something which is remarkable, which is differentiated, and building that kind of a content is pretty much the biggest challenge for marketing organizations today.
Absolutely. And as you rightly pointed out, there are so many stakeholders now in the content building, and there is a lot of user voice or a neutral voice also coming in, apart from influencers or employees, but also part of the entire process. I think one of the challenges that marketers face is how to create a trustworthy, believable, and valuable story for the end user, deriving content from all these places. I think that,
Absolutely, absolutely. Authentic content, something which which really kind of represents your organization, and something which would be remarkable as well. So I think that's where the whole content journey is shifting to.
correct, correct. But we are also perplexed to see that whether it's large organizations or small organizations, there is, in the last few years, there is a lot of dependence upon the performance side of the marketing. And even if it's content, the metrics that are used to judge the content is normally, let's say, demand generation, or not even demand, lead generation in a very crude way. Uh, how much dependence is good, and what's your take on what's happening right now, and why is it happening?
So I think performance marketing is I think it has come up largely from the context of understanding what kind of value marketing is really adding to the larger organization.
Mhm.
With digital coming in, you have seen a whole bunch of new metrics where marketing organizations and marketing managers are kind of getting judged to. Performance marketing largely came up in terms of looking at initiatives which would be directly driving the cause of business. When I say this, I'm not saying others they don't do it, but if you look at other KPIs like around branding or analyst, they all kind of feed into largely the performance marketing now. Performance marketing simply would be the kind of sub-function that would interact with your sales teams and add value to them. It might be through leads, it might be through other programs around customers in particular. I think so that is what is really kind of coming up, particularly in the tech side, where organizations are now looking at marketing and say, how do I really look at something where I can see a very direct correlation in terms of what the function is doing and what I'm really getting into. The second part in terms of over dependence, yeah, I think there's a larger vision when you look at marketing, and you can easily get lost in some of these conversations where you look at some of these metrics, but that becomes so focused that some of your other important metrics that feed into performance and really kind of drive that get compromised. And I think that might get very myopic when you look at a lot of these organizations. So I think there is a little more holistic perspective and marketing needs to look at. And branding, say, for example, is something that is really essential to kind of fuel performance marketing. And you really need to kind of ensure everything works in uh, in synergy.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. In fact, specifically from the B2B perspective, we have observed that it's not a game that marketers can play in the sense that they're going to dig the well every day and get out leads and enable the sales team. But it's more like a consumer enablement or consumer assistance game that marketers need to play, which means that if you assist the consumers or the buyers, if you enable them to take the right decisions through knowledge-driven conversations, etc., you don't really need to invest so much into performance marketing, because eventually people are, in general, they don't just see a form and fill it up and then you make a sale. That doesn't happen that way. There is a long journey which is full of content and different stages of the journey, and people take that content, appreciate your effort as a marketer, as an organization, and then start believing in you, and then they come back with queries, and then there's a hand holding assistance, and then that becomes perpetual in nature.
So I would rather say that both have their own importance. Uh, Branding would both can actually, I mean, they are not binary. Both can be run in parallel. Having said that, it's branding that would really propel your performance marketing. So your larger set of priorities and your focus should be fairly aligned that way.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Surya. In fact, let's extend this content part a bit, further. And a lot of times people say that, okay, I don't want to market on, let's say, a Facebook or on a YouTube. Uh, how do you see that YouTube as a platform, is it emerging as a great asset for B2B marketers, or do you think it's still more a B2C and there is not much scope for B2B marketers on YouTube?
Uh, no, obviously there is. I mean, B2B marketing is B2B marketers are kind of leveraging YouTube fairly strongly. I won't say that it's a it's something that is not relevant. Having said that, I mean the what I really kind of am noticing that it becomes a platform where your messaging can get easily diffused. At times, you want to kind of ensure that the kind of audience that you are nurturing, you don't lose those audience across two social platforms. So, in social, what really happens is it's very easy to lose your audience because there are recommendations that kind of come in from the engine and so on. So, video as a content obviously is kind of taking off. I think on the YouTube side, if you're really looking at your top of the funnel kind of activities, I see marketers kind of running that campaign, depending upon the kind of industry that they're into. But particularly on the B2B side, if you want to be really focused, I think marketers are trying to keep it as a part of their own kind of own assets, own properties. They're rather kind of creating microsites and platforms where they can kind of drive the whole kind of audience. But YouTube obviously is the most popular medium when it comes to hosting your videos and kind of uh, syncing them with your website. But it's the largest storytelling that you need to really kind of drive, and that's where I have seen organizations looking at their own kind of set of microsites and assets and platforms to kind of drive that.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Surya. In fact, in one of our earlier interviews, one of our guests stressed upon the emotional side of marketing in B2B. And I think I can correlate that, when you present your human side of the organization, I think YouTube is a splendid platform to showcase your employees and the culture of your organization, because that also indirectly influences your buyers. And I think from your from our conversation, I'm also figuring out that YouTube can become a kind of a hub for the users after they buy our products, because they would want to know how to use that product more effectively. There would be troubleshooting questions for which they would not want to call up anyone. So why don't we create a more intuitive assistance hub on YouTube?
Yeah, see, video as a content is obviously something everybody is kind of drifting towards, and YouTube is your kind of platform in that sense. So I guess there is no kind of two way about it. Uh, what I'm also saying is that while you need to leverage YouTube, you also need to keep in mind that there is a very structured storytelling that you need to take it out to your audience. You can use it as a repository where all your video content is kind of posted. Having said that, I guess what is also happening is looking at your audience, you're creating tailored groups or tailored communities where you can drive a certain kind of a messaging or a narrative, and your backend source can be YouTube, from where you are pulling up all that kind of a content.
Absolutely, absolutely, and essentially, I think no marketing is complete unless you attribute the data correctly, or you have the right analytics in place after your campaign is over, or even while your campaign is running. And we see there is a lot of stress and investments on automation of marketing today.
Hmm.
Yeah. how do you see that investment growing in India right now, across the board, right, from medium-sized businesses, small businesses, and larger? Do you see gaps? Do you see adoption lag somewhere?
So I guess it's a question of when the organizations are going to adopt this. It's not a question of whether they are going to adopt it or not.
Sure.
Uh, Different organizations I see are at very different stages. Most of the large organizations typically would have a fairly kind of a decent marketing platform. Mid-rung organizations, depending upon the kind of marketing functions that they are running, they would kind of have a marketing platform more often than not as well. I guess more and more small and medium enterprise are now kind of uh, uh, going for uh, better adoption of such platforms. It's only gonna kind of improve. The only barrier that I see is this whole kind of understanding and ease of use of the platforms, where I really see that there are marketers who still kind of are struggling with leveraging the potential of those platforms.
Absolutely.
The market has n number of platforms that kind of offer all kind of capabilities. Uh, but I guess there needs to be a little bit of a work to be done on making some of those implementations more successful. Otherwise, uh, a lot of these platforms are leveraged at a very kind of a basic level. But
Correct.
I guess with every passing year, we are seeing much greater adoption, and it's only going to be kind of increase exponentially. It's not
Absolutely.
whether companies are going to go; it's only a matter of time. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think along with automation comes the challenge of data, because the data is coming from your chatbots, from your social platforms, from your channel, and unless that is managed well, your automation cannot work.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
is there a challenge there also that you're seeing that the marketers are facing, or do you
Uh,
see
I,
going there?
I guess it's more in terms of what do you do with that data. See, uh, I guess most of the uh, marketing teams are conscious of the fact that you need to be completely data driven, data aligned. I see a little bit of a I see a little bit of a skill gap in terms of how do you really drive that. I mean, there is one gen of organizations which are really doing it very well.
Right.
Mostly, I will say organizations that are SaaS driven or large enterprises who have really put in place some very structured processes to kind of go behind that. But on the other side, you also see organizations who are discovering some of these, uh, right? And I guess, I think, uh, uh, nobody disputes the fact that, this is the way forward, this is the future. It's just that, they need to get their hand dirty and figure out a way to leverage some of that data as per their whole kind of business construct, right? Something that may have worked for a company A may not be, exactly relevant for B.
Correct.
So what kind of data do you really kind of need, and how do you really leverage it back to the business in terms of outcomes is what is relevant.
That's absolutely. I think that's an ongoing trend,
Yeah.
and I have also seen that a lot of times data from sales people resides in a different system. Data from channel hardly ever comes by, or if it comes, then it's somewhere else. Data from exhibitions is lying somewhere else. Chatbot data is not integrated with automation at times. All this is a real challenge for us, all the
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
you rightly pointed out, we need to invest in some kind of a data management skill set also at one stage,
Correct.
justice to automation. And while we are reaching the conclusion of our conversation, Surya, I wanted to ask you. You are an engineer, mechanical engineer from IIT BHU. Uh, how has that program helped you to reach where you are today? How is mechanical engineering helping you in the technologies sector where you are in?
So I wouldn't say mechanical engineering per se, but I guess uh, those 4 years of grooming and growing up uh, with your friends, in that environment, it helps you grow up in a little kind of a it kind of adds a lot of value in lot of other dimensions, not simply your core kind of discipline. For instance, I think I learned how important it is to be organized when you are really kind of growing up in that environment, and also the whole importance of staying focused. During our days, there were so many things that were really happening around. How do you keep yourself organized, structured, and focused is something I guess those 4 years have really kind of taught me. And I think that's something that have really kind of carried over the years.
No, absolutely. That's a great piece of wisdom for all our listeners also. And I think a great foundation, the way you received and created a great foundation for yourself, helps a person to again transition from in any avatar.
Yeah.
And the challenges of life, because those foundations help you in carving a way forward, isn't it? So what's your biggest life lesson so far?
So from a lesson standpoint, I think it's the kind of age that we live in. It's very important to stay sharp, stay kind of completely aware of what's really happening around you. The whole cycle of change has really kind of come down. It might be like 5-7 years earlier, but now I kind of really see industry changing every 3 years or so. So I guess this whole ability to stay aware of what's happening around you, your ability to understand what's really happening in your industry, staying very close to what is important for your business is extremely essential. It's not an option. It's extremely essential to kind of move forward. And else, it will become very difficult to kind of match up with the kind of energy, skill sets we are seeing in the youngsters today. So people are so well informed these days. So you have to pretty much keep your horizons open so that you are growing up with times.
Absolutely agree with you, Surya. I think you very clearly hinted on that it's important, critical for all of us to keep reskilling ourselves throughout our life, till whichever age we're working, and be relevant.
Yeah, when I see kind of young guys out from campus these days, I really am amazed at the amount of awareness and amount of confidence a lot of these youngsters have.
Correct.
And it's also kind of a it's also a kind of a input to a lot of us. I see I really kind of admire some of that energy and learning, and I think it's a good learning for a lot of us. We were not even half probably as good as what some of these guys would be.
Absolutely.
So I guess that cycle of learning should be always there. Your attitude to be open, receptive to ideas is really what's will be important.
Absolutely. So Ridip, thank you so much for your time today. It was really enriching. I learned a lot from our conversations today, and we hope that we'll find an opportunity again in future to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and pleasure was all mine.